Welcome to another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dr. Dave Peltz, and along with me is my esteemed colleague, as always, Dr. Joe Hamlett. How are you doing today, Dr. Joe?
I'm doing good, Dr. Dave. How you doing?
Most excellent. And today we have a very special guest, another one of our esteemed colleagues, Dr. Ronnie Rice, Esquire, because a PhD wasn't good enough, so he had to keep on going and get his JD, his law degree. So, how are you doing today, there, Dr. Ronnie?
Man, I'm doing fantastically swell. How about yourself? How about you guys?
Most
Good,
excellent.
good, very good.
We'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for returning for another episode of the Journeys Not So Ordinary People podcast, your personal, professional, and career development podcast. If this is your first time, we hope you enjoy the show. We have many episodes for you to delve into. If you're a returning viewer listener, again, we have plenty of episodes to watch. So uh, we'll go ahead and get this show on the road. Dr. Ronnie Rice, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the topic for today.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Joe and Dr. Dave, for having me on your show. I know you guys have busy lives. I know you have a lot of responsibilities, not limited to careers and jobs, but your grandkids. So thank you guys for taking the time and even in having me on the show. Just a little bit about myself. I'm an old country boy from Pritchard, Alabama. For you guys who don't know, that's in LA, Laura, Alabama. One of five kids. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College with a psychology degree, master's and PhD from Regent University, as well as Dr. Dave said, is my law license from my school of law. I have five law firms in five different states. Also have a consulting firm and coaching firm that stretches across the globe. I do a lot of work with individuals and leaderships of organizations, small, mid-sized to Fortune 500 companies. Um, a little bit about me personally. I have three kids. My eldest is Chloe, my second is Liam, and my baby girl is Stella, who we all know who runs that household. I love running, love golfing, I love people, I love connecting, I love building, I love starting, building, executing, and then moving on. So that's just a little bit about me.
Most excellent. Thank you there, Dr. Ronnie. So that works actually kind of well with our topic today, and that's leveling up, whether you're leveling up your kids or your grandkids, leveling up your education, which apparently Ronnie is very good at, leveling up your career, your training, whatever you want to do. We're going to talk about leveling up as it applies to your personal, professional, and career development, and even your business. I mean, you could be a manager, you could be a trainer, you could be an educator, you could be just starting school. How do you take it to the next level of your education, of your business? You're where you want to be. You want to get a promotion. How do you level up? We're going to talk about leveling up. So, uh, Ronnie, what are your thoughts on leveling up?
Yeah, I would say y'all background is just nice. You guys tell you guys tech guys. I just realized that. But uh, so like I said before, I have a consulting firm and a coaching firm that I deal with high level individuals, leaderships of organizations, different size organizations, and one of the things that I've been hearing recently, especially now, kind of I guess we're on the back end of COVID, I guess. Um, is, hey, I want to take my organization to the next level. Revenue is good, retention rates are good, product sales are good, leadership team's okay, budget is fine. Like everything is just okay, everything is fine. But the question I get asked the most is, hey, I want to engage you because I just want to move to the next level. I feel like they feel like they've hit this wall. And one thing that, and I'll throw this to you guys and to ask me, I want to ask you guys what you think. But I always start off with when I talk to these individuals, what is it that you want to do? Where is it that you want to be? I can sit here and come up with a goal for you all day long. However, you know your business better than I do. I don't care if it's selling post USPS envelopes. You might know that the cost of doing the envelope might be 50% higher if you go with one manufacturer versus another one. And so I seek to listen. And so my question to you guys, I'm posed to the group. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Because I know everybody has different methods of engaging, or individuals or organizations. So
Yeah.
Ronnie, again, that's a good point as far as trying to help people figure out where they want to go. And you said the first thing, all important thing, is to listen. Because you're right, we can come up with ideas. We can take a look at that person if we know them and kind of identify some of their strengths, weaknesses, and things like that. And we can say, hey, this is where you might be best suited. But that doesn't matter if that's not where they want to go. So
right,
what you said first is to be able to listen. I mean, one of our previous episodes, that was the first thing we talked about, was listening
Mhm.
to people and where they want to go, what they want to do. Because then from that point, we can start to align again those weaknesses or strengths that they have toward that goal that they want to achieve. So I think that's the most important thing, is to listen, to find out what they want to do, where they want to go.
Yeah,
right,
and I agree with that 100%. You got to know where your team wants to be, or where that individual or that company, what the direction is. Otherwise, yeah, it's like you said, Roddy, we could come up with 1,000 different ideas, and we could, pontificate and propose all day long. And, but if it's not where the individual wants to go, then there's a disparity there, and, it's not just with the companies and the organizations, it's with the individual as well. How do you level yourself up? If you, like you said, we're good where we're at. We finally reached that plateau, if you will, but you want to take it to that next level. What do you got to do? And you have to ask yourself that. I mean, we ask that of our clients and our customers. Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? But they have to ask that for themselves, because they need to have an idea where they want to go. Do they want to, do they want to sell and start, stop selling envelopes and start selling motorcycles, or, you know, create a surfboard company or whatever? I mean, what do they want? And they have to know themselves. We can't tell them what they want.
right. And so I find it interesting. You got three individuals on this call, which we all know the PhD is one of the toughest, if not the toughest degree to get in the world, right? Uh, and the first thing we always talking about is listening. Because you have a lot of people that sit here and say, "Oh man, you're a Dr. So and so. Teach me your ways." You're like, well,
My
which
way
way
may
would you
not be
like to
your
know?
way.
So I'm sorry. I know that's a side note, but I'm just like, it's very interesting that that we all have our doctorate degrees. But I mean, and I would say even with listening, be strategic with listening. Not listening to rebut, not listening to get something from the person. Literally just open-ended listening, which leads me to my next point when you talk about leveling up. I I always look at, okay, what's your rationale for doing it? Okay. If it's just money, if it's just more efficiency. So for me, I leveled up in my businesses primarily because I want flexibility. Three kids, right? You know, and all of them are in specific different age group, right? We got one going to middle school, one is starting pre-K, and one who just living her life at home, right? And so my reason for leveling up is say, hey, I want to move more efficient. Okay. I want to be able, and Dr. Peltz, he can attest to this. I mean, when we were taught probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was always just blowing and going. And I was like, I mean, it's cool to say, oh man, yeah, I was in this country, yeah, I was in this city, and I did this right here. But I was like, I developed relationships in undergrad, middle school, high school, in my PhD program. That I mean, it was just cool people. I want to have time to, hey, man, let's sit down and break bread, or let's sit down and jump on a call and just talk. Because I feel like life was just passing me by. I'm 39 right now. I just had a birthday June 6th, and I'm like, man, like life just came at me fast. So my next thing that I was saying with level up, like, what's your rationale? Why now?
Sure.
Okay, now
Yeah.
where do you want to go? That's one. Okay, all right. What do you sit down, you meditate, you envision, you pare it down. Okay, you know what? I want to be the best envelope maker in the world. Or if it's you might want to start off with your city or to state, to country, to the world. how you get phase pared down depending on how the scalability, which we can get into KPIs and all that stuff. But that's one aspect of it. Now is what's your why? Because DP, you said something. I'm sorry, guys. I call him DP, so I apologize, Dr.
No,
Peltz. Let me
that's all
correct
right.
myself.
It's for it's for Dr. Peltz.
Right, right. Hey, man, I'm from the hood, man. Hey, we all get there by nicknames. Hey, Dr. Hamlett, you about to have one in a second. Just give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute.
By
But
the time we finished, okay.
right, right. Uh, but so Dr. Peltz he made a statement of saying, hey, what are your colleagues saying? What are your frontline workers? What are your managers saying? What's leadership people saying in regards to like your why? Because if all those individuals are not bought in, who cares if you want to go
Yeah.
here or there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If they're not bought in, or they'll have a certain level of, okay, I own this part of this goal, objective, vision. Like you can be doing all this over here, and then you feeding all this work down. You got when you got all these contracts in the world to develop these envelopes, but the employees like, hey, why you want to create increase production? I mean, my pay hasn't increased. Like I haven't got any more benefits. My retirement matching hasn't increased. Yada yada yada. So you got to ask yourself why, and then get and start answering the whys of those around you who's be instrumental in seeing your company grow.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think that's a very, very valid and important next question. What's the motivation? Is it
Mm,
monetary? Is it extrinsic, like monetary? Is it recognition? Is it notoriety? Or is it intrinsic? Is it because you just love building something yourself or others or a company or an organization? So understanding what that motivation is really important. It's important to understand what you're motivated by, what's motivating your peers, your employees, your leaders, your company. And it's also important to understand what's not motivating them, because that can be the other side. I mean, and monetary, as nice as that is, that's a temporary motivator. So what do we do to find out what's demotivating or not motivating people? Because, sometimes addressing those issues will actually get you better results than kind of keeping going down the same path that you're already on. If you reach
mm,
that wall, like you said, the good stuff's good, but why can't we get any further? Well, what's not going well? What are people not liking? What are you not liking about yourself? Is it that you only have one doctorate degree and not two, Ronnie?
really? Oh my God, you guys not gonna let that down, are
No, no,
you?
no. It's too much fun. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think you both brought up some very good points. I think you started, Ronnie, with sitting down, meditating, figuring out what it is, figuring out your own why, why you want to do this. But at the same time, when it involves a team of people, making sure you get that alignment. Again, they may be on board with, okay, we are the best envelope maker in the world right now. So, what does that next level look like for them? Because some people may be like, well, you know what? I got 5 more years, so I'm good. I don't need to go through all this additional stuff to get to this
Mhm.
level. So, yeah, when it's just you, that's a little bit easier, even though that still can be challenging because us trying to figure out what our why is,
Mhm.
that's still a challenge for most of us. But
Yeah.
when you bring along a team or an organization and trying to help them visualize your big picture, that could be very challenging. And Dave, you brought up a very good point. Maybe it is knocking down some of those barriers of why they can't do it, and then helping them to maybe see the bigger picture. So yeah, just understanding why you're doing it. I even hear people say, when you go after a doctor's degree, why are you going after that doctorate degree? Because and I experienced that same thing too. I'm going after it because I'm going to be this, and then realize I get to the end of the road and it's like, no, it's not that. So really understanding
It winds up being that
why
we're
are
just
you
gluttons for
pursuing.
punishment. We couldn't stop
Well,
writing.
well,
Right, right.
it's funny. I had a conversation with a gentleman just the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it for the last 5 or 10 years." And the first thing I said was, make sure you know why you want to pursue that doctorate degree. I mean, don't just go after because you think it sounds good on your resume, but understand why you really want to do it.
Man, it's so
So,
many other things you can do to make yourself sound better. I mean,
absolutely.
easy and cheaper. I mean, oh my God, like I don't
Right.
know,
Right.
go pole dancing or something. I don't know, something like get it.
Right.
Hey man, I don't know how to pole dance. I mean, I know that's radical, but I mean, it's cheaper. I mean, you take a class for $300, and trust me, it'd be a very interesting topic as opposed to saying, you have a doctorate degree. So
Yeah.
but I like what you're saying, Dr. Hamlett. And so my what I go to next is I start providing examples of like because some people do get stuck. I started providing examples of your why, your where and your why. Because sometimes you what you get you can get lulled to sleep, right? And what I mean by that is you don't you somebody just don't walk in your house and kill you, with a shotgun and blow a hole in your chest. They just lull you to sleep and give you put some poison in your favorite food. And 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 I know that sounds very random, but let me bring it back home. Think about one of my favorite examples. Think about Blockbuster and was a gallery movie or wherever it was. Um, when they got on the scene, I mean, you couldn't tell them nothing. I mean, everybody's running to them. Everybody got a membership card. It was like a platinum black card American Express. I mean, if you got that Blockbuster card, man, you made it in life, right? And they didn't do anything as time progressed. I mean, they were doing well, right? They didn't do anything when time progressed it, but now look at it. I mean, it is a post that like about a year ago I saw. It was like the last Blockbuster. I mean, it was like they
Mhm.
had guys with the sign Tanner rope. I mean, with ropes on the sign Tanner, the sign down, things that sort. Or is another example. Yahoo had the chance of buying Netflix. Yahoo had like for like I don't want to say like $10 million or something like that. No, not Netflix. Excuse me, Google. Like for like
Okay.
$10 million or something like that. This is like back in the day, like 20 years ago. And then the Yahoo's like, whatever. I don't know who Google. How do you say? Is it Google, whatever? Turned it down. I mean, but now Google is the one of the largest search engines in the world.
Yeah.
YouTube being the first, by the way. I don't know if knew that.
Yeah.
Um, and the number one online selling platform is Amazon. And guess what the second one is? I know I'm just throwing some tidbits out there. I'm
Right.
gonna bring TikTok.
Oh wow. Okay. I did not know
So
that.
a lot of people are now on TikTok. They just think about the crazy viral videos that you see and yada yada dancing, but they sell a lot of stuff. I mean, I ordered like 5 things off of I mean not yesterday, last week. Now granted it's coming from somewhere across the pond somewhere. I still haven't got it, so it's not as fast as Amazon, but it's also cheaper than Amazon.
Mhm.
Why am I bringing all this stuff up? So when you start talking about your why and your what, you have you sometimes you got to take a dive look at yourself and say, okay, yeah, I'm doing good, but am I going to be sustainable for the next 3 to 5 years? Like, if is there any competitors that are, circling the market? Are there any sharks in the water that they see me bleeding, but I'm not noticing because I'm like, hey, I'm good. I mean, I'm making
Right.
more money than I ever made in my life, or the company's ever made. But is it some new technology that's circling around around you that can like put you out of business,
Mhm.
literally? And do I need to be learning some new skills? And
Yep.
so we start talking about the why and what. My next thing, like I say, my next thing is okay, evaluating. Hey, like yeah, I'm good. Evaluating where I am, like
Yep.
realistically, because one of my favorite movies is Pulp Fiction. With these sword, I would smite thee. Whatever. I'm not Denzel, but Samuel Jackson says. He One of my favorite line is there are known unknowns, and there are unknown unknown. Okay,
Yeah.
let me repeat that. There are knowns, there are known unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns. And so when you're talking about running a business, or you're doing coaching, you're doing consulting, or you're trying to level up, you gotta understand you have a blind spot. It's some stuff that right? Like, I know 2 plus 2 equals 4 all day, no matter what school you go to, no matter how much tuition you pay. I also know that it's some certain things I don't know, like physics. I know force equals m mass times acceleration. That's all I got for you. But I know it's some other levels of physics that's out there. I know I don't know it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Here's the scary part. We talking about leveling up. There's a lot of stuff I don't even realize I don't even know. And so now you got to evaluate yourself. And it's good to have an outside consultant coach just come out and evaluate yourself. Because yeah, you got to why. Hey, I mean, you got to where I want to be, $1 billion company. Okay, all right. So what's your why for that? I want to have, money for my kids, tuition. I want to build legacy. I want to, be in the top Fortune 100s. Okay, all right. So let's evaluate where you are. And if you don't know, yeah, you know what you don't know, but if you don't even realize what you don't know, you might be in deeper waters with some unsavory characters that you don't know about. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to bring up is the what we don't know, the unknown unknowns, like you said, because you might be comfortable with where you're at and things are good. You just want to take it to the next level. But to your point, you can get to the point where, to me, the unknown unknowns is almost a point of complacency, because that
Yeah.
means to me that you've stopped looking, you've stopped researching, you've stopped paying attention, you've stopped asking questions, you've stopped talking and communicating to people. So, it's not that we're ever going to find all the unknown unknowns, but we can still be looking at them in that direction so we don't get caught off guard, like the Blockbuster, like the Red Box, like Circuit City, and so many of those other companies who got complacent, and then at the flip of a switch, it was almost overnight, they were out of business because
Yep.
they did not level up, or at least they were not paying attention what they needed to level up just to stay current.
Right.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you both touched on a couple of very important things: the critical self reflection and evaluation. That really taking stock of what you know, what you don't know, and then acting upon it, because you can know all day some of these unknowns or learn about these unknowns, but if you don't do anything to help yourself, then you end up like a Blockbuster or some of these organizations that have failed. And that's one of the things when I'm coaching people, individuals, and when they say, "Hey, everything is great right now," but then the unknown hits them, they get the pink slip and saying, "Hey, you and 300 of your coworkers are now being laid off.
Mhm.
What do you do now?" And that's why I always have people think about, okay, yeah, things are growing great today, but what happens tomorrow? What happens again if you and your 300 peers are out now looking for a very similar job? What's
Mhm.
going to separate you from the others, right? What is going to make you stand out, even though you've been doing this job for 10 years, along with your peers that have been doing it for 10 years? You haven't furthered your education, you haven't learned new skills, you haven't acquired new certifications. What is going to separate you from those other individuals? So that's why I try and paint that picture for people when they think, oh, things are going great for me now. I love this organization. But we all know, me and Dave know, we talked about this before. Everything could be going great one day, and then the next day they get a new CEO or the market changes and they got to do some restructuring.
Mhm.
Guess what?
And and the part that I love, and Dr. Hamlett, I'm interrupting on purpose, and
No,
because I
yeah,
want to make I
absolutely.
want to make it, I want to stick, I want to highlight, underline, circle what you just said. Is like, what are you doing? Because that's the next part of leveling up, right? So you got the what, you got the why, you got the evaluation. Now it's like, okay, so what we about to do? All right, let's get out here and let's do some research, but also like now that we got a grasp of like, oh man, we're behind the freaking 8 ball. Okay, what
Yep.
the heck am I going to do now? Are you learning some skills? Are you taking your team on a retreat and said, hey, guys, customer service, the way that we're talking to our customers on tech support is terrible. Like you let's say you hire a great firm like the Dr. Hamlett, Peltz Rice, LLC. I speak in the name of Jesus. Um, uh, and we've done this, this quantitative analysis on, what is your customer service rating in regards to tech support, and you realize, man, it is in the trash can. So now you took an unknown, and it's now have become a known.
Mhm.
So what are you gonna do about it?
Yep.
Because if
Yep.
you're talking about moving to the next level and we did evaluation and then now we're okay, here are some of the things that we see that kind of, that's an issue. It might be your R&D department, your research and development department. They're just like sitting on their hands, right? Because they have a leader that's not, every time they come up with a creative idea, it gets shut down. So they're scared to come up with any new technology or to say, hey, if somebody at Apple say, you know what, hey man, I know we're not supposed to be talking about it, but Android has came up with such and such a new technology, blah, blah, blah. And that's scared to say anything about Android because you banned the word Android at all,
Right.
but it's to now, all right, now you did the, where, you did the why, did the evaluation. Now you got to do the work. And the work is, and as you probably said, for those who are listening to this podcast, you got doctor. So what they tell you, we all about research. We all about evidence-based practices. And for those who don't know what evidence-based practices is, it's basically saying like we're just not going off of something that we thought about it and we were using the restroom and it kind of came as an idea or uh you know we just listened to some podcasts like you listen now and just came up. It sounds cool. We have gone in and you've hired a team of folks to come in and say, okay, hey, let's do a SWOT analysis. Okay, let's talk to you people. Let's get down to the nitty gritty and put numbers next to some of the KPIs. It's okay. We see if you want to be $1 billion company, you have about 700 million. And okay, so we're looking at what's the $1 billion company? What are they doing? Oh, we realize that customer service might be one of the issues. Or we might realize that hey, the way that the lag time from creating a new product to enter into the market might be 3 months at $1 billion firm, where for you it might be 2 years.
Yeah.
And we got to figure out a
Yep.
way to shorten that time window because we all know technology moves fast. You can't wait 2 years to launch anything technology. I mean, you got to
Yep.
basically you give yourself, I mean, maybe 3 to 6 months, maybe 3 to 6 months. When you develop something, you got to put that thing out on the market because
Yep.
that thing might be obsolete by the time you decide to press the green button. So, taking those evidence-based practices and saying, okay, all right, this is what we found. All right, this is what we're going to implement. Let's train your staff, or let's train you, or let's do a retreat. Let's do some meditation. Let's make sure all the decision makers are on board, and those who are not might have to make those tough decisions to fire. I mean, what do you
Yep.
guys think? I mean, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just an old country boy. I'm just trying to.
I, everything you're saying makes perfect sense, Ronnie. It
Absolutely.
really does.
Yep.
And you've broken it down into something that's palatable for a lot of people.
Yep.
Well, some of my clients say, I'm transitioning out of one career into another, but I don't know what I need to get into or what I want to get into. And I ask them, well, what do you want to do? I don't know what I want to do. Well, that's a challenge. So the follow-up question I ask is, what do you like to do? And if they say, I don't know that, I tell them you need to go out and start exploring then because you have to understand yourself before you can understand others. You have to understand yourself. You have to understand your team. You have to understand your company before you can take it to the next level. That's a lot of awareness that you need to have. So
Mm,
I think the other important thing that Ronnie just talked about was understanding your market or where
yeah,
you fit into that market. Because, like you said, if some company is getting there in 3 months and it's taking you a year and a half, you're way behind the eight
yeah,
ball, and so you'll never get to market. You'll never gain any of that market
yeah.
share because you're too late to the party. I mean, you're just getting there, and everybody else is moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So
And they're already
understanding,
leveling up.
absolutely, they
They're
already
catching
leveled
up and
up,
they're
and they're
leveling
ready
up.
to the next level,
Yeah.
and you're
Right.
just now getting to this level. So understanding your peers, your market, whatever that is. Again, whether it's you personal, and you're looking at the workforce, and you're looking at how you align with your peers. Again, when you think about moving to a manager role, do you have the credentials? Do you have what it takes to get to that? No different than a company or organization trying to move in the same direction as these successful companies or organizations. What are they doing that you're not doing, and how do you close that gap
Yeah.
between you and that organization that's at that next level? So
Absolutely.
Right.
understanding where you are in that marketplace or whatever it is.
Right, right, and Dr. Hamlett, man, I'm telling you, DP, you and I, our soul resonates. So, we already like this, if I was partial to that nice weather down there, I might move in with you. But Dr. Hamlet just hitting some points, man. Like we're using companies and individuals interchangeably because guess what?
Yeah.
What makes a company? The individual.
That's right.
So the company's only gonna move as much or as fast or as slow as the individuals who are leading and who's breaking it, period.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
from your CEO all the way down to your frontliners, period, point
Yeah.
blank. And so and I don't want you guys to take light of it. I mean, we're being jovial and we're because we're all colleagues and we can spit all our credentials and we all betted and all that stuff. One of the reasons why when I listened to this podcast and the reason why I jumped at the opportunity when when they reached out to me because they're about actually providing content that you can apply. And guess what? If you say, you know what, I like the idea, but you know what, I need somebody to help me implement it. You got the team right there. Just reach
Yep.
out to them.
Yeah.
Look at the podcast notes and shoot an email. Go to the
Yeah.
website, whatever. So this is not something that we're just on Sunday morning preaching and then saying, hey, go read a book, read the Bible, and ask God to give you interpretation, and you kind of just all or whatever. We're here.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
They're there. Saying it like we're here to help. And that's not even. I know that might sound like a shameless plug, but I mean it's just a plug. It is what it is. And the reason why I try to talk very fluidly when I'm talking to the masses because society has conditioned, especially American society, has conditioned individuals. And I know I'm getting off topic, you guys. I'm gonna rope
No, it's
this up
fine.
in like a minute and a half. Maybe a minute and 45 seconds. I'm a black man from the South, Baptist. But just hold one second. I'm closing in 1 second. But we have been conditioned in the school system to kind of basically feed you, have somebody to feed us, right?
Mhm.
K through 12 is already a curriculum set. Here's a certain stage of education, reading, literacy, mathematics, whatever that you should achieve, which you get standardized tests at the end of the semester or at the end of the year. If you pass that, great, you go to the next level. You don't, you get held back, yada, yada, yada. So by the time you get to 16, 17, 18 years old, and you're trying to think, you're trying to figure out what you want to do, which kind of can, it kind of can put you in that 16, 17, 18-year-old teenage mind mentality, even at a 40, 50-year-old, because you probably have had somebody tell you, oh man, you make a great doctor, you make a great engineer, you make a great teacher, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And you kind of just
Yep.
went off that realm,
Yep.
that vein. But now you're at a point of like, well, I got the college degree. Okay. I did that major there. Everybody told me I should have did. What now? Because hey, the school system's laying off, or this engineering firm is laid off. Do I want to move from home? Am I okay to move from home? I mean, this is what a lot of the new generation is dealing with. And the
Yeah.
reason why I know this is because of a lot of my firm are young folks, man. And the things that these guys are talking about, I've hired attorneys where, after the first 30 days, they told me they're about to take a month vacation out the country. I'm like, what? What? Like, me growing up, I'm like, man, I just passed the bar, man. I'm about to I gotta go. I gotta make some money, man.
Right.
Like, what are
Yep.
you talking about? But
Yep.
it's a soul. You gotta think this is a person who finished undergrad, because you go to law to become a lawyer. For those who don't know, you have to do 4 years undergrad, you do 3 years of law school. You have to take LSAT, get a good score on the LSAT to even get into law school. Then you gotta pass the state bar. Any of them, just pick one. You gotta pass one. And I know individuals who great law students, phenomenal law students, straight A's, yada yada yada, Dean's list, Jesus list. Um, and they graduated, had a job waiting for them, worked 3 to 6 months, and quit.
Mhm.
And so, so I'm putting that out there, like guys, like when we're talking about exploring, like Dr. Peltz said, exploring, like don't just be hinged on what everybody else is telling you to do or what you think you should be doing. Like, do your research, go out there and like feel the world, and you do, and same thing with organizations. Go out there and feel the world. Go to these conferences and seeing how other people in your industry are doing things, and go visit a booth that you probably normally wouldn't go visit. And you're like, man, that's new technology. It sounds interesting. I mean, I don't see a need for it. And you might sit there for 5 minutes, realize, oh my God, I can't live without this technology. And so, and which leads me to my last point, and because I want to be respectful of everybody's time, is you got the what, you have the why, you have the evaluation, you have to do it. Now it's self-reflection, right? And obviously, we got technical terms for all this, but we keeping, we want to make sure everybody is easily to digest. As both Dr. Hamlett and Dr. Post said earlier, is you got to self-reflect. You have to go back and say, okay, all right, guys, we tried this for 30 days, 60 days, not getting the results we want. So what? Do you quit? Or do you go back to the drawing board? Or do you go all the way back to the what? Or do you go to the why? You go to the evaluation? Do you go to implementation? Or do you go back to just scrapping it all together? And the reason why it's very, very important to have the sex reflection, it could be simple as a pre and post assessment internal, or it could be certain KPIs to say, okay, hey, we want to hit this mark. And if we don't hit this mark, why? Because it might be something that just might be a small, if you turn your direction 7 degrees north, and say, okay, all right, that's my magic number. I try to tell people, think of life and organizational development in that vein, because a lot of times people don't get the results that they want and just scrap the whole thing. And you gotta be consistent. You gotta be persistent. You gotta be keep trying until something happens. And I know for me, I'm the first in my family to be an entrepreneur business owner. And I've had some bumps and bruises in my businesses. And I wish that I didn't have that bump, that knot right here in the back of my head. I'm glad I got it at an early age, because now I can speak so verbally about, hey, hire slow, fire fast. I can tell you, hey, got an idea, try it.
Yep.
Go for it. Don't wait until you waiting for the Pope to come in. And so I mean that's kind of like my step by step way to in a can and we call can in law school. You're supposed to brief these. I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm letting my colleagues have it. In law school, you have to what we call brief cases. So when you brief the case, it's like a summary of the case. But you might have 40 cases you have to brief for each class. And you mess around and go to class like constitutional law, where you're talking about, I mean, one brief might be 40, 50 pages. And you have to do, we have to brief, which is, we call it IRAC or CRAC. IRAC, issue, rule of law, analysis, conclusion, or conclusion, rule of law, analysis, conclusion, whatever. And as you imagine, as the very studious individuals as that we are as law students at the time, you go to the internet and you get canned brief. So,
Gotcha.
which is AKA Cliff Notes.
Yep.
And so when I say canned, my canned version of this, that's what I'm speaking of, like
Yeah.
my canned version of this. And obviously, if you were to hire me, you're gonna I gotta bring this is my team that I would bring in, you be hiring me from this podcast, that we'll stretch out way more in detail of what we
Right,
mean
right.
by this, how to implement it. We got, several different things we could do. We could tell you how to do it. We can show you how to do it, or we can come out and just do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note to transition into the close. We've got about a minute left. So, Joe, any final thoughts?
No, I think this was a very good episode. I think there's a lot of information
Mhm.
for people to digest and to maybe apply to if they want to level up, or if they don't even think they need to level up, to maybe consider some of these things that have
Mhm.
been discussed, and just to see where you are, because a lot of times we may think, hey, I'm at the top, I'm where I need to be, but then they go back and take a look at where they are, and they're really not any further than what they were, previously. So, again, a lot of good information. I definitely want to thank Dr. Ronnie Rice, Esquire, for coming on the podcast and gracing us with his knowledge and wisdom. It's really been a pleasure.
Thanks, Joe. Ronnie, any final words?
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you guys enough, man. I love you, Dr. Peltz, to the depths of my soul. But I one tidbit that I would say, hey, everybody should be leveling up, because if you're not growing, what, dying, So
Yeah.
don't pass this episode up thinking like, oh man, I'm good, man. Listen to this
Yeah.
podcast. I mean, digest this, because at the end of the day, I mean, this is just a fraction of my library, right? For those who are watching it
So
on
you're a
via video.
librarian also? Who knew?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, right? Let me get my glasses. Uh, but half these books are, from education, probably no, probably about 30%. And the rest of them, and in the rest of my house, is other books, just making myself better, finding ways to make myself better. So you got PhDs here, you got doctors on this podcast is telling you like, hey, you should always be looking. Now you should be
Absolutely.
satisfied, and I'm not going to the spiritual aspect of that, Dr. Peltz, but it's a great ancient book that says
Yep.
all things.
Yep.
I've learned to be content. So being content and striving for greatness is can be achieved in all of one.
Thank you, Dr.
Absolutely.
Ronnie
Yep.
Rice, Esquire. We appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule and joining us for this episode. We like to thank our viewers and listeners for joining us for another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast, your personal, professional, and career development podcast. If you'd like to reach out to Dr. Rice for any reason, his information is going to be below or somewhere on here. So thank you again. And until next time, we want you to all keep on being your not so ordinary you.